happy new moon and happy equinox next week. Oh, it's right around the corner. I'll probably do another video then, but with this being the new moon right before Mabon and Equinox, I just can't help but mention it and talk about it a little bit. So blessings. Hi, hello. I know it's been a while. I took a little break. I had to recenter. And part of that is for my own mental health, being there for my family, my wife while she was pregnant. And on the other hand, a big part of that is the burnout that a lot of us are probably facing right now, just climbing out of. You yourself probably in tandem with all of these retrogrades that we've been going through. So a big part of that for me was learning to step back when I'm juggling too many balls, or simply just knowing what to prioritize. I got to a point where the joy just wasn't the same anymore. And sometimes any artist or creator or content creator, video creator, writer, artist, painter, whatever the modality may be, needs to step back to find the joy and the passion in it again. You know, you can take what resonates from that. But for me, I knew that I just wasn't giving it my all anymore. I was burning the candle at both ends and having days and nights where I'd be staying up late just to get a piece of writing done for my blog, or I'd be trying to cram video creating in amongst busy days, and at the same time my wife was having a very tough pregnancy. She couldn't help out around the house very much, and that left me looking after the house and the kids and really shouldering a lot of life while she was put on bed rest. So let that be a reminder to you to know when it's time to take a step back. Because I had to admit that I'm not, as much as I love doing this, I love getting to write, getting to create content for you guys, for as many people as follow and share the things that I have to say. I wasn't doing it for the pure joy of it anymore. And when we have a passion that is becoming more about work than doing it for the sake of doing it, then it's time to take a step back and ask yourself why you're doing it. You know, one of my favorite creators is Aaron Doughty, and he had a saying. I was just watching something that he was talking about last week. He was talking about when he grew his own video creating, and it wasn't just about quitting his 9-to-5. It was about doing it because he loved to do it. But And in that sense, when you have a passion that you're doing aside from your day job, aside from everything else in your everyday life, it has to be because you love it. It has to be an end in and of itself, not a means to an end, is how he put it. And that really stuck with me. Because if you have a joy, a passion that you know will take you out of your day job at some point, we cannot do it for that reason. You need to do it purely out of the love of the art. Or as Bashar puts it, do what excites you. Do the thing that is the purest creative expression of your true self, and do it because it excites you. Not because it will make you lots of money, or because it will bring you into a new reality to do so, but because it excites you. And that is when we must ask ourselves, if you're burning the candle at both ends, if you're running yourself dry, then what's the point? That's what we need to ask ourselves. So, happy new moon, right? Now, this is ironic. Well, not ironic. Synchronistic that I would feel this push to come back right on this new moon in Virgo, just on the tail end of Virgo season, right before Mabon. It's not ironic, it's perfect, because this is a time of really taking stock of life and being pragmatic about it, being logical, being responsible, but learning to look at our routine and everything in our lives as organized chaos, and really learning to thrive in that. There's still a bunch of planets in retrograde. Mercury is coming out of it in the next couple days, and then it goes through its shadow period. So, to me, all of this Virgo energy really says, learn to thrive in chaos and keep your head on while you're at it. While at the same time, it's funny because Mercury is ruled by Virgo, or Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So, at the same time, this wouldn't be my normal update if I didn't include a few points and the runic energy that is flowing through the collective right now. And so we have Jera, which transitioned into the second half of Virgo. I split up the runic wheel around essentially from the beginning of the transition of each zodiac on the 21st to about the 5th or the 6th of each month, depending on if the month before had a 30th or a 31st. And but we could look at that like a moon cycle, depending on if a month has a 31st or a 30th. But the rune, and so keep in mind, Jera as a rune, it's not just a symbol of balance, but in most Scandinavian languages, in most of the Germanic countries, it was synonymous with the word year. And as a rune that falls right before equinox, right before the second harvest festival, right before Mabon, it is a rune that begs us to ask, what are we focusing on? It's about cycles. It's about what we are putting our energy into. It's about the crops that we have sown through the year, putting the work in. And it's about looking back too. You know, when we think about either Thanksgiving or Mabon being pagan Thanksgiving, it's a time to look back. As I told my kids last night when we had a family circle, we went around and we talked about what we're thankful for this year, because we were having a new moon circle last night as a family, and we were talking about, okay, well, if it's Mabon next week and Equinox, then how about we take an opportunity in this circle to also find a few things that we're very grateful for this year. And so that's what Jera is all about. And the message that I really get coming through to that right now, especially in relevance to the timing in the year, coming out of summer into fall, it's very much thinking too about this being the 7 year, the year of the seeker, the year of really driving forward. A lot of people had a lot of goals this year, a lot of knowledge seeking. Take this opportunity to ask yourself, what am I focusing on? Because remember, where attention and intention goes, energy flows. Now remember to, on the 21st next week, we come into, oh, I got a jumper. Now remember too, in the middle of next week on the 21st, we transition from Jera into Eihwaz. Now, this is important because Jera is about the cyclical nature of things, right? So it allows us to be present and aware and raise our awareness to our cycles and our patterns and how we have grown through things. You see patterns coming up and how we go through the healing circle, or sometimes you'll see situations come up that you could have reacted differently to. And now you maybe take a more enlightened approach. And then at the same time, so there's this real component there of raising your awareness and bringing enlightenment through that. And then when we come into Eihwaz, Eihwaz is very much a rebirth rune. It's about the trials and the struggles that we face, that we are meant to face in our journey, in our story, in our life. Because remember, when we look at life like a story with story structure, I'm reminded a lot lately of The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell and that story structure. And especially because it's not just about stories, but when we look at life, we agreed to come into this life. And one of the rules of the cosmos was you're going to have lessons. And the great thing about stories is what makes a compelling story, what lessons that the character goes through that makes them interesting, or else you wouldn't want to watch. Now, what makes you an interesting person is the things that you've gone through. So consider, as we shift from Jera and think about everything we've gone through in the last year and shift into Eihwaz, the trials and tribulations that we go through. Consider your story and how that fits into it. Now, this also wouldn't be my monthly energy forecast if I didn't give a few hard points, a few things you should know to really wrap it up. Now, there's a few things that have really been gnawing at me lately. Number one is trust. Trust in your intuition. Trust in yourself. Our intuition is a beautiful thing. And often when you feel like you're lacking in one area of your life, your cups are overflowing in another area. And at the same time, sometimes we can gaslight ourselves when our gut is trying to tell us things. Now, something that really comes to mind when I think about this, that is so important, is that for me, in my other job, I also do personal training and coaching aside from content creating. There have been a lot of frustrations over the last year, and I have had to remember that while there was ups and downs, at the same time I had this beautiful growth in my family life, in my relationship, my love life. My wife and I got hand fasted back in June. She's been pregnant all through this year. That is a full cup, and it's been overflowing. And sometimes we have to remember that we are always abundant in something. Because if you are focusing on the lack in your business or the lack in your job or money or different things, then you're pushing that away instead of focusing on the abundance that you're rich with. Maybe in another area. Maybe in your family life, in your relationships. Maybe you're rich with communication. I heard a funny story of this girl who wanted to travel the world. So she didn't have any money. She certainly didn't have the money to just travel the world, but she was a photographer. So she got a hold of the airline and she asked them, hey, if you fly me around the world and I take pictures and share them with you so that you can use them in your travel brochures, could we make that deal? And not only did they fly her around the world and put her up in the best hotels, they even paid her to do it. So, remember that. You're always in abundant in something. So trust your intuition. I also had a little funny thing about mother's intuition for anybody else out there who may resonate with this. My wife is actually going into early labor in the last 24 hours. And last night I got home from work and she was in the shower and she was talking to me about her symptoms, and she goes, well, I'm not sure though. I don't know. My head's kind of telling me one thing and my body's telling me another, but it feels like I'm having contractions. And I went, okay, that's your head. Take a breath. What is your body telling you? What is your intuition and your gut telling you? And in a split second, that I'm in labor. Okay, then it's that then. So trust your intuition, trust your gut. It's so powerful. It will not lie to you. Our bodies are magical, powerful things. Number 2, see the patterns and the cycles that are coming up. Catching yourself in patterns. This is important because, like I was saying with Jera, it is this beautiful opportunity that we have to see the patterns that come up and where we could react or act one way or another. I had this instance at the table earlier this week that really resonated with me. My stepson has a lot of attitude. He's 5, but he's got a lot of attitude. And we were eating at the dinner table, and he had this salad on his plate, and he didn't have any dressing on it because he's autistic and he doesn't like a lot of condiments or dressing on things, and that's just a sensory thing for him. But instead of eating it with a fork, he was just grabbing handfuls of salad and eating it with his hands. And we told him, we must have told him a few times, buddy, eat it with your fork, please. This isn't a finger food. And I saw a flash of a moment for myself, from my inner child, where I could have reacted in patriarchal, toxic, masculine, father type behavior, and I didn't. Where I said to him, he had a piece of bread in one hand, and he was grabbing his salad with the other hand with his hands, and I said to him, buddy, use a fork, stop eating with your hands. And he just looked at me and went, too late. And I saw where my own parents would have either smacked his hand or used a fork and just like stabbed his hand with a fork or something. And I saw another version of myself that would have like stabbed his hand with a fork or whacked it or his fingers with it or something, and I just stopped myself. And I went, no, that's not how we parent. That's not how I parent anyway. And that's not how we treat our kids. So I stopped myself, and we just looked at, and my wife and I just looked at him and said, buddy, eat politely, please. And he stopped, and okay. So that's the importance of this, is seeing those little moments where you could react one way, but you choose not to, and you break a pattern by doing that. And for me, that moment was healing, not only for my inner child, but a piece of ancestral healing for an aspect of patriarchal masculinity within me. Because that is something that I'm continuously working on. And number 3, be the writer, the audience, and the scribe to your own story. This seriously relates to what I was saying about seeing the trials and tribulations and struggles that we go through as part of your story. So think about that story structure. Think about the mentors, the protagonist, which is you, the antagonists that you have in your life, the partners, the calls to action. And let the struggles in your life all fit into your story. Instead of thinking that you're going through your own burnout right now, perhaps because you're struggling through whatever is going on. And maybe you're wondering, am I on the right path? Am I on the path even? Yeah, you absolutely are. You're just at the part of the story where the hero is being challenged. And this is the part where the people in your life, the friends and family that are watching, that are looking on, get to marvel in the way that you react, in the way that you learn from it, and the way that you grow from it. So, take everything in stride. And do it with a little bit of organizational Virgo energy, while at the same time learning to keep your head in chaos. And with that being said, may you have a wonderful full moon, new moon. I know I will. And hopefully next time I see you, or next time you see me, next time I come on and do one of these, I'll have a brand new baby girl. So may you have a wonderful new moon and equinox. Happy Mabon. Bye for now.